Hello. Well, Ford Escort versus Ford EXP. Two very similar cars, believe it or not. For those that already know, an EXP is mechanically just an Escort. And it's so much so down to the fact that they even share the same floor pans, same suspension, same engine, transmission, all of that, same rear suspension, same fuel tanks. Same bumpers, believe it or not. Well, kind of. So, even though these are exposed chrome bumpers, I believe it's chrome in the rear, chrome steel in the rear, and aluminum up front. Maybe I got it the wrong way around. It might be the other way around. I can't quite remember. But one's supposed to be polished aluminum and the other is chrome. I'm thinking this one's the aluminum one. Yeah, because it's oxidizing and the front's chrome. With the EXPs underneath the bumper cover, the same story. So you can actually go and swap these around if you really wanted to. Sadly, I don't have a two-door Escort to compare for you guys. That would be the golden ticket here, a two-door Escort versus a EXP. That's when they start looking awfully similar. So you'll have to take my word for some of the stuff, but they're pretty similar. The problem is you say that and everyone thinks, well, then everything's the same, right? No. So an EXP is only a two-door and two seats. There are no rear seats. Rear seats are replaced with a rear cargo area. A rear seat delete, if you would. So they put in a blank carpet insert where the rear seats would normally go in an Escort. So an Escort doesn't matter if you have a two-door or a four-door. All Escorts have a rear seat of some sort. These earlier ones, they were all a two-piece bench, so it's a single bottom bun and then a single upright back, and they all fold down. But later they'd turn into split seats where you could have just one side down or the other or both, not necessarily all down at once, kind of limiting your options. So that came later. And then what came a little later after that is the bottom bun would flip up and stow upright. So then when the back flopped down, it would be perfectly flat. When I lay this guy down, it's still locked in on the other side. So we'll do that some other time. When I lay this down, it's not perfectly flat. It's kind of raised like the bun is on the bottom of that seat. So if I had oh geez, excuse me, allergies are kind of floating around tonight. But if I had a two-door Escort, things would be a lot more comparable. So if you can imagine, this whole bottom half of the EXP door is the same as the two-door Escort door. Where it differs, though, is from here up. Every piece of glass on the EXP is completely different than the Escort, even if you have a two-door. Every single piece is different. This back window is a different shape between the EXP and the Escort. Same with the bubble back of the L7s and the later EXPs. And all the side windows are totally different between these guys. The mirrors are the same, assuming you're looking at the molded sport mirrors. So if the mirrors look the same, it's because they are. If they look different, they are. The windshields, also different. People are always asking all the time, well, I got an EXP, those are pretty rare, can I use an Escort windshield? No. None of them interchange. There's no glass on these cars that interchange except for headlights. And that's year-based. The 81 to 85 Escort headlights are the same headlights as the 82 to 85 EXP. And it's the same thing when you look at the second gen cars. You know, the smooth face cars, the front ends between those are exactly the same. I don't have a sunroof EXP with me right now, but the sunroofs are even the same. My theory is that the sunroofs, the factory sunroofs, okay, forget about the aftermarkets. There's way too many of those to go down that rabbit hole. As far as the factory sunroofs go, I believe that these are even the same as the 80s Mustangs. If I'm wrong, definitely say so. That's kind of a theory I'm working on. I haven't been able to have these side by side with them to find out. But the question is, why is the glass different, or why does it have to be different? Well, so the deal with the EXP is when they made it, the roof line, you know, the space between here and here, is 2 inches shorter than it is on the normal two-door Escorts. It's hard to see it here, but if we get down, kind of make it so that the two hoods are about level, you can see plain as day right here that the Escort is that 2-ish inches taller. Sometime I in the comment section I'll bust out a tape measure and I'll show you what the difference is in height from here to about where the trough is, and then we'll do it again to about where the peak of the roof is, and then same with the EXP. And I won't measure at a curve, I'll measure straight up so that my figures are accurate. That way you can see on paper a definite difference too, not just side by side. And because of that, they had also changed the slope of the windshield. You can see that here. The EXP one is more laid back, while the Escort one is a little closer to vertical. So that's why the bottom, you know, from here down of the two-door Escort doors will work on EXPs, but from here up, they're just totally different. They have a different door frame, they have a different window. And then we'll go over to the other side. I think that's where I can show it to you a little bit better. The door skins, or not door skins, the door cards are different. You know, the inserts. They don't have a two-door Escort door card available, but it looks very similar to this. I'll pop this here, and then we'll flip to the EXP. There we are. So now you can see a kind of like hockey stick kind of theme we got going on here. Very ergonomic for the arms. When you're sitting in these cars, your arm molds pretty much perfectly to the armrest. It's fabulous. Even when you're even if the height of you varies from the next guy, you'll both hop in and will fit both of you just about perfect. But you know, the door lines are even the same. The body lines, the top line of the doors are the same across these, even with the one being a wagon. Like I said, mechanically they're identical, depending on your trim. I should note that. You know, some Escorts have 7-inch drums, while all EXPs have 8-inch drums. And then there's various engine trims that you can get, different transmissions that you can get, but overall they're all the same and completely interchangeable. But because of all that, the wheelbase is the same. You see, I got it so that these tires are almost perfectly lined up. I have the EXP parked ahead by a quarter of an inch, maybe half an inch. I got them very well lined up. But you can see I got them lined up even at the quarter panels. I got them lined up at the front wheels. Got them lined up at the mirrors. If this was a two-door, it would be lined up here, all the way to the back. We have the rear wheels lined up. I believe even if we zoom out, we see that, yes, the fuel door even lines up because the gas tanks are lined up, because the filler necks are lined up, because the floor pans are lined up, because the suspension's lined up. All that is one for one identical, to an extent. Back of the cars is where things get a little interesting. The back end of an EXP, totally different from all the Escorts. Same with rear quarter panels. Even though that they're the same behind the plastic interior panels, you'll see that the strut towers are exactly the same between these guys. It's the outer skins that are totally different. So you could say that the EXP is a reskinned Escort. And I don't know them very well, so don't ring me out for this, but I'm told that, for instance, the 64 Falcon and the 64 Mustang are kind of in the same boat. They're mechanically identical, but the Mustang has a reworked body like this. But these have the added bonus where the doors are half interchangeable. I mentioned that. But then the front end is interchangeable. You can see plain as day that for the front end are totally different parts here. What's cool is if I pop the hoods, you can see that it's almost identical underneath the hoods, with the exception of the radiator support. You can kind of see why. The Escort nose here, it's all flat. The EXP one, it dips down pretty low here and here. So if I were to pop them open, you'd see that the EXP radiator support has got this gentle divot here, and it's pretty much at the same height in the middle as it is on the two outer ends. And a little divot here, and then flush again. Whereas the Escort one, it's just pure flat whole way across. So if you were to get around that, you can actually put the entire Escort front end on an EXP and the entire EXP end on an Escort. And then when we get to the 86 to 88 cars, it's all just direct swap. It's the same. When the second gen EXPs came around, they switched the Escort front end of the time. So in 88, 85 and a half, they changed the Escort to the smoothed over. They did the same exact parts that they used to change the Escort. They put on the EXP, so then they shared every single part up front. And then the only difference would be, depending on your trim, you could have a different grille insert, and then some would have fog lights while others didn't. I wanted to also mention that because of the bumper difference, you can see that EXP has unique wraparound bumpers and a molded front and rear bumper, while the Escorts is exposed. In later years, the GTs have a molded bumpers on them, and all the Escorts for 89 and 90 all have molded bumpers, kind of like my EXPs do. It's a bumper cover. 89 and 90 are unique. They put those on every single Escort. By then the EXP was done, and they're not interchangeable to any of the cars 88 or older, whether it's Escorts, EXPs, Escort GTs, whatever. But anyway, I wanted to mention, because dimensionally these cars are exactly the same, except when you get to the bumper covers. The EXP bumper covers, they extend the physical bumper by about yay much. So in the back, you can see that my Escort here has these bumperettes. Not all Escorts have those in the rear, but this one does. And that actually makes the bumper stick out just as far as the EXP's one do, maybe just a tiny bit more. But if we go up front, the EXP sticks out a little further. And like I said, I think I got the EXP forward by about half an inch, but it's still a little bit more forward than these bumperettes, which are more forward than in normal Escort bumpers. Because this is a GL. The GLX is similar, but if you had an SS or a GT or an L or a base model, those would be slightly different. But that's most of it. I should dive into the interiors a little bit more. So the interiors, I showed you the door cards. That was the main difference. Everything else is actually almost the same, kind of, when you first hop in the car. The seats are the same, depending on what kind of trim and spec you're looking at. The seats could be identical or almost identical. The dashboards, exactly the same. So this is the Escort dashboard, and this is the EXP dashboard. You can see that the dashboard as a whole is completely identical. The models that have center consoles are identical. This being an 83, it has an armrest. 83 on up, all EXPs had armrests. So this one, all EXPs have lower consoles, but not all Escorts have this lower console. This one being a GL, I think having a GL or higher gets you the lower console. So I think even the GTs have these, and the SS, RS, etc. But the Escort Ls don't necessarily have these. Matter of fact, I don't think any Escort Ls have these, and I don't think base model Escorts have these. But the center console is the same exact piece. But most of the time you get these warning lamps on the left here in the Escorts, whereas in all the EXPs you'll have an ammeter on the bottom and an oil pressure gauge on the top. Some Escorts do have that as well. Not very many. It depends on your trim and what your options are, but mostly the trim. Otherwise, that's about it. Not too many Escorts have a locking glove box, but all EXPs have a locking glove box. All EXPs have a clock unless it's been deleted, which gets you a $25 savings refund coupon, however you want to call it. Removing the clock from an EXP got you a $25 credit at the dealer, so most EXPs have that. All EXPs have speakers in these corners unless you have speaker delete, which again gave you some sort of credit, while most Escorts, they have these coin trays. Only if you had a fancy sound system would you have anything else. This originally was a mono car. I think AM only. That's not the stock radio. I think it was mono AM only, so there was one lone speaker here in this grill, and this one had the clock, and that's it. It just has coin holders everywhere else. And in the rear, it's got coin holders back there. But if this car had a higher level sound system, I believe those would be speaker grills. Gauge sets also differ a bunch. Most of these cars will look as you see here, where there's just a speedometer and a fuel gauge, while EXPs have speedometer, tachometer, and then fuel gauge and coolant temp, engine temp gauge. Otherwise, everything up front is the same, but A-pillars, because the exterior of the body is different, these are different. Those trim pieces, this trim piece across the top here, that's different. Headliners are different. The sun visors are the same. So identical sun visors. The Mustang ones are similar, but they're longer and they're slightly different. The cars that have a dome light, actually I believe all the Escorts have a dome light like this. And if you have a higher trim, you get the map light, which is what my EXP has over there. We'll go over to that. Hey, there we go. So a higher trim Escort could have a map light, but all EXPs will have the map light unless they have the sunroof. For whatever reason, when you have the sunroof, you only get the dome light. And we're not too sure why. In the Escort, you can see that there's plenty enough room for the map light. But in the EXP, I believe that the sunroof would interfere with this. So all the sunroof models I have don't have the map light, for instance. The carpets, the front carpets at least, are completely identical. The rear carpets are totally different. This one's been covered up, but it's underneath it, it's totally flat. And then there's vinyl ribbing to slide cargo up and down. There is a chrome rail on the front. That's the same across all EXPs and LN7s. The Escorts, not so much. For those, it's only just normal carpet like it is in the front half. These giant rear plastic panels, they're totally different between all the cars. The EXPs are totally different from the two-door Escorts, and you can imagine that they're nowhere near what the four doors and wagons have. The seat tracks are slightly different, and that was because of the 2-inch roofline drop. And it's real apparent. I have a video on it. If you put Escort chair rails in an EXP, you're going to scrub your head, and if you put the EXP ones in an Escort, you're gonna continue riding low. My shoulder is only about yay taller inside the EXP with the seat all the way back. If I hop in the Escort, it's more like up here. Otherwise, that's about it. I wish I had more Escorts handy. It's 'cause then you could see all the different body styles, because technically there's the EXP, there's the 2-door Escort, there's the 4-door Escort, and then there's the wagon Escort. And believe it or not, the rear hatch of the 2-door is the same as the 4-door. And believe it or not, the second row doors of the wagon are different than that of the 4-door. Because on the wagon, the roof keeps going straight. But on the 4-door, it starts rolling off a little bit before it reaches the normal hatch. It's really cool stuff. Someday we'll meet up with a few more Escort guys, and we'll be able to have a cool comparison between all the Escort bodies. But till then, we at least got the EXP stuff and a couple Escorts on hand. So, anywho, catch you guys later.